What if the industrial age wasn't a straight line, but a crossroads? Where factories, revolutions and railways could shape a different future, but one of your own making. In Gilded Destiny, the modern world hasn't been written yet. That part is going to be up to you. Hello everyone, my name is Tom and welcome back to LT Gaming. This is the channel where we dig deep into strategy, indie gems and games with proper bite. No hype, no fluff, just grounded previews for smart players. And today we're previewing Gilded Destiny, a globe-spanning grand strategy game set in the smog and steel of the industrial age. It promises sweeping control, forging of empires, the incitement of revolutions and the reshaping of society through diplomacy, economics and of course decisive warfare. It's paradox-style grand strategy at its heart, but with its own twist. A fully simulated globe, granular province management and a modability built in from the ground up. Europa Universalis 5 might be on the horizon and I'm absolutely going to be covering that game, but honestly I'd love to see a proper challenger emerge, not a clone, but a real contender with its own ideas and its own rhythm. And that's why Gilded Destiny has my attention now. If you're curious too, drop a like, share your thoughts below and maybe wishlist the game to support the devs. Now let's break this one down and see what makes it tick. Right, let's start with how Gilded Destiny will actually play. At its heart, it's going to be a grand strategy game of course. You'll be managing provinces, steering diplomacy, developing trade routes and commanding armies. Everything you would expect. But where this game is going to try and set itself apart is how tightly all those systems will connect. Not just going to be layered on top of each other, but truly interwoven. The first thing you're going to notice is the map. It's not your typical flat board, it's going to be a full globe. Roughly 1.6 million hexes, yes that's right, that spans biomes, mountains, rivers and coastlines. And it's all going to be grounded in real world geography. And that will mean terrain will matter, weather will matter, the shape of your empire and how it expands will become a logistical puzzle, not just a colour map. And that will matter because provinces aren't going to be just in the background either. Each one will have its own population makeup, class, ethnicity, religion, employment, GDP, all feeding into how productive or volatile a region will become. You'll be appointing governors, issuing local edicts, and trying to shape not just policy, but the very identity of your regions. So it's not just abstracted out, it's right there at the provincial level. And then this will tie all in turn back to the economy. Not just plonking down buildings, but supply chains, raw materials to feed your factories, which can produce goods, which feed your population, or for your exports. An example might be you're running a booming steel sector in the north of your country, but the coal supply in the south dries up, the whole thing will grind to a halt. It's cause and effect, not click and forget. Trade will follow a similar logic. It's going to be sector based, not just resource for resource. You can impose tariffs by industry, negotiate deals, and even pressure other nations economically. So maybe a little bit close to reality there. Want to starve a rival's textile economy, you can cut off their cotton imports. It's economic warfare played out through diplomacy, not just troops on the ground. And speaking of troops, combat here is real time with pulls. It's not going to be about unit spam, instead it will be more based on logistics, rail lines, supply chains, troop deployment and terrain. So perfectly in line with everything else we've discussed here. If supply lines fail, your army will run out of boots, rifles or food, and the war will be lost long before the first battle kicks off. So think more industrialization of war and logistics of empire, all wrapped into one. Then the final veneer here will be politics and culture. People respond to your policies, ideologies shift, parties rise and fall, and of course religious movements will spread. And you'll see that reflected in events that aren't just narrative in flavour, but real forks in the road. Do you suppress dissent? Do you lean into reform? These will be decisions with proper weight behind them, not just modifiers on a tooltip. What really excites me about this game though is how all of this is going to tie together. It doesn't seem like there's just separate veneers of the game, but you're working within a single evolving system. Trade affecting politics, politics affecting war, war affecting the economy, and everything filtering down to how your provinces will function day to day. It's early of course, and systems like this live and die on balance and clarity, but I feel like Gilded Destiny is aiming for something properly ambitious, not just a reskin of Paradox's formula, but a systems-led sandbox that's going to push the genre forward. If you're enjoying this video so far and you like this kind of grounded, detail-driven content, consider giving it a like or subscribing if you feel we've earned it. And if you want to go one step further, you can join as a channel member now to help support us and more deep dives like this. Thanks guys. So what kind of world are we stepping into with Gilded Destiny? This isn't a dry historical sim, it's the industrial age in full swing. Factories rising, ideologies colliding, borders expanding and cracking under pressure. So you're not just dealing with kings and treaties, you're managing migration crises, labour movements and technological upheaval that will reshape how people live. There's a strong sense here that the game knows the 19th century wasn't neat. It was messy, violent and full of contradiction. One province is building railroads and universities and another's on the brink of food riots. And as a player you're stuck right in the middle, holding together an empire that might not even want to be held. What's refreshing for me with this one is not history on rails. Gilded Destiny is embracing alternative histories without veering into pulp. It's going to let you rewrite the future while still grounding you in the pressures of the era. You can turn isolationist Japan into an industrial titan, or see the rise of a Latin American federation while Europe tears itself apart. It's got the sandbox promise we love, but also seems to respect the historical mood, uncertain, transformative, and of course deeply human. Now the big question in my mind is, can Gilded Destiny really challenge Paradox? Now, I don't think they're trying to out-paradox Paradox, as it were. You're not going to beat Europa Universalis, or maybe more accurately here, Victoria, by copying the homework and hoping for the extra credit. But here's the thing, Gilded Destiny isn't trying to be a knockoff. If anything, it's closer in spirit, as I just mentioned, to the Victoria series. This deep, systems-heavy simulation of society, economy and politics, with a few smart twists of its own along the way. It's focused not trying to cover 400 years of history, but it's locked into one age, the industrial age. Not just as a setting, but the mechanical spine of the game. It understands that the 19th century isn't just about conquest, it's about managing the transformation that occurred. Railways, ideologies, migration, class tension, and capital flow. The pace of change is the challenge here. And this is where the game seems to be building its own path. A simulated globe, provinces that feel alive, and an economic model that actually feels industrial. If it lands its execution and it finds the right balance between complexity and clarity, it doesn't need to dethrone Victoria 3. It just needs to be this alternative, a second pillar, a fresh voice in the genre that's long overdue some competition. And frankly, that's exactly what the grand strategy space needs right now. So who is this game going to be for actually? If you've bounced off Paradox titles lately because they feel too abstract, too sprawling, or just a bit too legacy, Gilded Destiny might be the more focused, tactile alternative you've been waiting for. It's for players who want systems that breathe, who enjoy the knock-on effects of industrial policies, migration trends, and economic chains that are more than simply annexing the next province on the map. I think it's also going to be for the modding crowd. If you love tinkering with the old total conversion mods, or rewriting history in your own vision, this looks like it's being built with you in mind. That being said, it's not going to be for everyone. It's ambitious and maybe a little too overloaded in its scope. Balancing this kind of interlocking system, provinces, trade, warfare, politics, is going to be no small feat. And if the UI doesn't absolutely knock out the park, or the AI can't navigate this depth, it could feel more like an empty sandbox than a proper strategy game. But if the team lands it, they get the pacing, the clarity and the integration right, Gilded Destiny could absolutely carve out some space of its own in this genre. So I'm going to be watching Gilded Destiny closely, and if long form strategy, emergent stories and systems that you can properly chew on are your thing, this is one to keep on your radar and wish list. As of June 25, the closed alpha is right around the corner, and I think the devs are aiming for a public release at some point this year, but official dates are still pending, so don't quote me on that one. But if they keep delivering these monthly dev diaries and staying as transparent as they are, Gilded Destiny could be one of the most honest developer in touch launches in grand strategy we've seen for some years, and hopefully without the endless DLC grind. Alright guys, that's it for today. Thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye now.